I will take and use up all your Shear Force if you'll let me. All right, 2025 corn planting is done. Hey, good morning. All right, so we are off and running. We think we are going to plant some corn today. That's 6 acres behind the house, 6.5. It means we got to pull the fertilizer out that has been up in the barn. I did find that we had a bag of seed yet, but I'm still a little leery that we don't have enough. But the first thing I am going to do is I'm going to grab the tractor and I am going to put out a bale into the feeder. And it's just gonna sit there. If it sits there for a week, if it sits there for 4 days, 2 days, I don't really care. But especially early on in the year, with everything being so fresh and for them being just on grass now, then everything just flows through them like water sometimes. We do have a pretty good population of clover in our fields, and I don't mind that because it's a great protein source. And the white clover comes back nice. That's another plus. So gonna try that idea of trying to keep out more grassy hay, first crop dry grassy hay, to balance out their guts a little bit. DF431, nice cow, extremely curious. So there's no surprise where her calf gets that curiosity from. Man of livings. Mineral check, decent. Probably tomorrow I'll have to stock it up. But yep, that is just, if they take 2 mouthfuls a day, it's worth it. All right, so we are down at the shop. We have one setting we want to change. Actually, a couple settings, really. We got to change the heights on the corn planter. And then I'm going to take the 29 down to get the fertilizer. Then I'm going to bring the loader tractor back, dump the stuff we took out of the planter back to the farm so I can dump it in to the actual gravity box itself. So I think I'm going to move the 2030 back over here so we get this corn planter. I should not have parked this right here, but yeah, we should be planting corn in about an hour. Yeah, and we should be able to get that done today. Is full. There is at least one more filling in there, if not a little more, but it's just all hung up because it's been sitting in there for a little over a week. Would have thought the drive back here would have loosened it up more, but apparently not. So we also made a pretty major adjustment to the seed depth. So we're gonna check that out. That was way too much. So we'll work our way back. You know, and then you gotta play with ground conditions and all that stuff too. See how this looks. Honestly, it could go one more. All right, let's try it. Well, while Dad's doing that, I am gonna start knocking off, or try and knock off, a couple little projects here and there that need to be done. I think one of them, I need to sharpen the blades on our lawnmower, but whatever. I think I'm gonna start, because I've got about an hour till I gotta go back by Dad, is I'm gonna drag this field out here, and I'm just gonna use the Mahindra, because honestly, it's the only one available. I could use the 44, but that does seem a little excessive. We were actually going through the book right before we started, just making sure I got everything, right before we started, and it said recommended speed for what we wanted to do was like 3 to 6 miles an hour. So Dad had me pace him with the four-wheeler to kind of get an idea where he was, and he was only doing like 3, so I think he's set up now, he's doing about 4 miles an hour, so a little faster, which will be nice. We'll get that done today. This will be just like dragging the other fields. I'm just trying to scratch it up, just trying to loosen up some of these piles. Oh, wrong gear? Yeah, wrong gear. The only thing is, I don't drag a lot with this tractor, so it's finding the gear that I want. You can see one thing that does happen when you have so much leftover thatch or leftover hay is it will plug this rake up. That's the only downside to this. So sometimes it'll clean out when you get to a bare spot, and sometimes it doesn't. So some of these thicker areas I'll end up going through like 3 or 4 times. And every once in a while I gotta go out and empty it out. Alright, so we are done. And this happens pretty much every year, that this does not do as good a job on this field as it does on our other fields. So you definitely can see all the thatch that's out there, and it's all lifted. So it's definitely there's definitely some material out there. not a huge deal, but I do like to try and get it to spread out, lift up a little bit, let some air in there. Maybe get a little bit of thatch off of grass that's still alive, so that stuff can start poking through, and you really don't lose the seed. You might actually be introducing more seed to getting covered and matted down. So I don't know, I like spreading it out, especially on these couple of fields that are close. It seems to work out pretty well. So we got probably 200 pounds of fertilizer left, and I think we're gonna make it on seed. We should be pretty darn close, and everything seems to be working okay. Knock on wood. All right, 2025 corn planting is done. This stuff is going to be oats, and I don't really consider that row crops because that's just emergency hay. We spent the last 20 minutes. I pulled up here, and he was literally lifting the planter on his last row. So perfect timing. We probably still have enough to plant another couple acres, fertilizer wise and corn seed wise, which is fine, but we're just gonna pull the plug and say we're done. We're still gonna end up, right now we have 14 acres of corn silage, or at least corn for corn silage, which is still like a 75% increase from last year. So that'll be really nice. Just hopefully it all turns out good. But what we're gonna do now is Dad's gonna take the planter down to the farm. I'm gonna go grab his truck. He's gonna take me back and I can pick up the gravity box. Now we're gonna put all this leftover fertilizer, because it's probably like 400 pounds. We're gonna put it into our broadcast spreader, and then I'm gonna take it back up to that field and then just spread it out. So, but we wanna get that all done today because the sooner the better. We wanna get our oat seed for planting the other, well, what's left, 10 acres, the other 10 acres. So the sooner we can do that, the better. So here is our setup that we're gonna do. Spreader on the 2030. I did rinse that out a little bit. There was a bunch of junk on the bottom, which we're not gonna fill that quite yet. We're going to take all the fertilizer that's still in the planter. We'll throw it in the bucket of the tractor and do what we did earlier and just dump it in the gravity box. That'll be a lot easier, I think. I don't know. I mean, I could back that up here and dump it in by hand. I don't know. Horse apiece, I guess. I have done this with a shop vac, but when you got this much in here, it don't take long with a scoop. Made it up to the field. We've got our first batch here. It's about 300 pounds, give or take. I got it set to about 40 pounds to the acre. I might have one, maybe two more bins full as far as the spreader goes. Just trying to spread it out evenly. That's why I set it at 40. Don't really want to throw like 300 pounds on 1 acre, so set it to 40 and we'll see how it goes. Number 1 is done. There's like 100 pounds left in there. I think when I get back, I don't really want to heap that. When I get back, I'm gonna clean this out really good. I'm just gonna spread it on that pasture that I dragged up this morning. So I think that'll be fine. Well, we have gotten up to feeding time and watching the cows today with the chunk that I gave them yesterday. We're going to give them another third today. I could just give them the other half of that field. It would be fine. Versus setting up another chunk. But I am going to set up another line and give them another third. Mostly just to kind of continue this training process. So I'm on the other end of our new paddock, and I'm being harassed by a red-winged blackbird. I don't mind the red-winged blackbirds; they're nice. The starlings, I hate starlings; they're assholes. So the cows are back there. This is about another third, and then another third. Then later, this is always deceptive. I mentioned this yesterday. It's always deceptive trying to break square fields into thirds, try and pinwheel. You know, trying to make something square into something round. You know, and then trying to gauge size. I've gotten okay at it, I think, over the years of doing it so many times. But we're on the back side here, and we'll do wooden post update. So the last fence line wooden post. I don't count corner posts and stuff like that, but this is like normal fence line. Like I always have a lot of these angles, and we're replacing them with T-posts and some of those round bar stock style. But this guy, last wooden fence line post, still doing strong. It's treated. That's why he's still lasting that long. I don't touch him. That's the first time I've touched. I just wiggle it. How do we start on one end? So this is how I do it. I've got these handles. I don't do this. I don't know why. I just never have. I just don't do it that way. I will take this and I will wrap this a couple of times. So I get juice on this side. The other thing is that I'm not as worried about this coming unhooked. And then what I'll do is I'll take this end, and it's hard to do one-handed. So I'll wrap it a couple times here, wrap it a couple times here, and now there's tension on this, so this isn't gonna unhook, and then it's not gonna unhook there. And then I also get juice live on this end, and I'm gonna get it live on the other end. Photo, I know you know where you're going. All right, so the trick is the calves. The calves are always the ones that don't really know where they're going, and they shouldn't. I mean, they don't know what's going on. So making sure that these guys, that's also why I run that line a little bit lower,
Now these guys are just trying to figure out that there's an alley right there. This guy's gonna see the fence. That one figured it out. She followed him, and then he'll figure it out. That is a thick dude. I wonder if he's got skurs. He doesn't have horns. I'd see him by now. I checked everybody this year. But that is a thick dude. I love what Phantom can do with calves. Phantom is a Shear Force. He's an older bull that was really, really good. I mean, kind of just one of those. He was like a sure shot heifer bull, but just like a really good cow maker too. When we first started using Gen X, there was actually a tech, and I said, hey, just asking, you know, do you happen to have any Shear Force in your tank? And it was like one of the only gals that we've actually had be a breeder for Gen X. She was only there for like a year or something. And she only subbed for Scott, our normal tech. And I just happened to ask, you know, because different tank, you know, sometimes they have leftover stock. And I said, you know, hey, do you happen to have any Shear Force, or what kind of Simmental bulls do you have in your tank? She gave me her list, and she's like, yeah, that's one of those bulls that if somebody's saying they're having a hard time getting this one bred, she goes, I'll use that bull on them. Well, that means she's using them on dairy. And I'm like, oh, no. I will take and use up all your Shear Force if you'll let me. That's how we were able to get a couple of Shear Force kiddos. Honestly, Phantom is the only one left, but really, really nice cow. All right, so we are at the end of the day. It is Sunday evening. It's the end of the weekend, unfortunately. I wish I had like 3 or 4 more days, and I don't have to take a half day of vacation tomorrow, which is kind of nice. Dad's gonna call right away in the morning, and hopefully we can get our fertilizer spread. They are still talking rain on Tuesday, Wednesday, but then hopefully maybe at the end of the week we can do our oats. Probably one night we'll end up going to go get some seed oats or something. So, but yeah, we're coming to the end of the day. So we're gonna call this the end of the video. Hope you guys liked the video. Please hit that thumbs up button, help support the channel. And of course, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Got any suggestions for videos or any constructive criticism of my videos, please leave them in the comments. Please hit that subscribe button, help support the channel, and we're still gonna try and get to that goal of 2,000 subs, because that is kind of a big step. So we definitely wanna hit that sooner than later. And of course, thanks for coming along.